All right, this is 3 things that 2025 has taught me about community and obedience, and they go together. I was trying to figure out which ones to really talk about, but they really tie in both together, especially with obedience tying into community. Now, the first one, just jumping straight into it. The first one is community isn't optional. I want to start back before even walking into 2025. In 2024, I joined my first men's group and a couple other addiction groups that helped me out. I had some mentorships that I had in 2024. All of them helped me out in all areas of my life, whether it's fitness, whether that's, again, in my addiction process of healing, whether that was my finances, my walk with the Lord. I realized in those relationships that I was connecting myself to that I could not live life on my own, that I needed a community, that I needed other people to be able to get through the hardships of life. Because the thing is that we try to have this lone wolf mentality, or at least that I have, I can speak for myself, and I realized how isolating and how it was a total illusion that I was thinking being a lone wolf was actually making me stronger, which it wasn't. I wasn't utilizing the tools and resources that God has given me to actually become the man that I need to be, and even help the people that I love that are around me that God has allowed me to steward. And because of that, I want to talk about the lone wolf mentality a little bit more, is that when you think of a wolf and the way that it operates with a pack, it thrives with a pack. It thrives with other wolves around it, to see its blind spots, to see the strengths and the weaknesses of that wolf. When a wolf goes off on its own, it puts itself in danger because it doesn't have anybody to see the blind spots. It goes off and it doesn't, it's all just survival mode. That's all it is. But it puts itself way more in danger than it realizes. And I was doing the exact same thing for myself until I hit my turning point where my entire world fell apart because I isolated myself from people, from my relationships, from my family, my friends, my community, thinking that I could take it all on my own, when that was the worst thing that I could possibly do. And so community isn't optional, because trying to achieve anything in life, business, fitness, finances, your relationship with the Lord, you need other people to help you out along your journey. You need other people to see your blind spots, to keep you accountable, to uplift you and motivate you and keep you encouraged and supported. This is how you go through life and all the ups and downs, is because you have your support system, your community that you can rely on, that keeps you strong. Now, a lot of other countries and a lot of other areas have a better perspective and actually a lifestyle with this. I think a lot of times here in America we struggle with this because everybody's on a fast pace doing everything just for themselves, and there really isn't this idea of community that's being put out there. And we see that effect in every aspect of life, whether it's family, whether that's the loneliness pandemic of people struggling to even have friends in this life. We see that with businesses, we see that with churches, we see that with a whole lot of things, because community is missing. And that's a huge thing. We need each other. Human beings are designed to have community, to have relationships with one another. And, the Bible talks about it being a body, a collective body, and each of us are an individual part of that body. We need each other to be able to operate correctly. I even think of it as well as the Lord was telling me this year, going off the lone wolf mentality, is that it's important to put on our armor of God every single day because of the attacks of the enemy, and we just have to be aware that we are in a battle. Yes, the battle is won, but we are still in a battle. We have to be prepared for it. However, a soldier does not leave its army. A soldier is operating its best with an army. You have to stay close to your army. If you go off, a lone soldier is a dead soldier. The enemy is going to take you out, regardless if you have your armor on or not. It's still going to take you out. You could try to withstand it as much as possible, but you need your support system. You need your community, okay? And so community isn't optional. We try to, carry this whole life alone, and we think that is strength when it's really not. For myself, I could say it at least, is that I was very prideful, so prideful that it blinded me to even think that I was prideful. I had people, when I look back at it, call me out on my pride and call me, and when they called me out, it was more of out of a care and accountability that I rejected because I was so prideful that I did not even want to see it. And so when we isolate ourselves, we blind ourselves to the dangers around us. And you see, in the right people, when we talk about our community, our support people, I want to be very clear about it. You have to have very good discernment on who you surround yourself with, because when you surround yourself with the right people, it uplifts your life in all aspects, whether again, fitness, your walk with the Lord, your finances, your mental health, everything. You want to surround yourself with people that uplift you and help you grow, not tearing you down, not pulling you down, not getting jealous or envious or coveting anything aspect. It has to be uplifting, helping you, the seeds that you're sowing into your life, helping you grow those seeds and making you sure that you're achieving everything that you possibly can as a human being. And so the right people don't just celebrate you, they don't just show up at the wins, but they actually walk you through with accountability through all the hardships, all the L's that you take, all the days that you're crying, that you're angry, that the things aren't going your way, that the illnesses that you go through, the deaths of life, every hard part that you could possibly think of. The real people, and this is how you really can tell, is when you go through a hardship, whether in any aspect of your life, and the people that stick around you in those times, those are your real people. Those are the people that you can hold on to and pour into and lean more into and actually build a relationship with them, because they are going to be there for every aspect of your life. Excuse me. And so that's the real community. That's your support system. And to be honest, I'm gonna flip the third point to the second point, because I think it goes well with what we're already talking about, is that when you're trying to find your friends, you're trying to find your new family, your community, a lot of the growth and a lot of those relationships, that community, requires vulnerability. A lot of people want to say they just, we pray for friends, or we want friends, we hope that we could find our community. It starts with you being vulnerable first. One of the things that I've really learned and taken to heart this year in 2025, going into 2026, is that growth requires vulnerability. This is the second point. Okay, your healing didn't just happen in isolation, but it happens when you speak honestly and you ask for help, which asking for help is not weakness. It's the strongest thing anybody can do. It's the bravest thing anybody can do, because you're realizing that you can't do it on your own and that you need somebody else to help you out. And that shows true strength. And you let people see where you actually are. And this is really how you can find your authentic self, is when you be vulnerable. You stop hiding behind lies or trying to be fake, or that you're perfect, or that you have no issues in life. I've realized a lot of the times I've had coffees with people, or go and have dinners, or even just meeting up with people and building the communities and the relationships that I have now here over in Austin, is it started with me being able to be so vulnerable with my story and the things that I have dealt with in life, the things that God has helped me overcome. And because of my vulnerability, it tears down the walls that are in those conversations. It tears down any awkwardness or, weirdness when people are starting, the small talk of getting to know somebody, because we just jumped into the deep end of being like, hey, look, I'm not a perfect human being, and this is the things that I've done, and this is the, what God has shown me through. And I, am, like I said, I'm an imperfect human being that is working on becoming better and holier like Christ. And it just tears down those walls to allow other people to be themselves as well. There's no performance in those conversations, no performance in the relationships, because I could just be me with no judgment to who they are or what they've gone through in life, and it allows them to have a safe place, a safe environment to be able to share whatever they want to share. I'm not forcing them to be vulnerable. I'm stepping out in my obedience, stepping out in my growth to be vulnerable, to allow there to be safe environments, a safe space for somebody else to do it if they choose to. I'm not going to force them, and I can't force them to share the vulnerable parts of their life, or allow them to be. The real connections, the real people in my life now are the ones that accepted my story, accepted that safe space, and be able to share their own struggles, their own things that they're going through in life, that they've been through in life. And we've just related and connected and have continued to build a relationship because of our vulnerability, our honesty. To be honest, that's really all it is. Honesty to ourselves, but honesty to other people. And I'm not saying the relationships have been perfect moving forward. They haven't. You have to continue with that. You have to continue with that honesty with the relationships, especially when there's friction or things that disagreements happen, and you go to that person, you're like, oh, look, I was wrong, or hey, this hurt me, and I want to be honest with you about it because I want to work through this with you. And this goes for romantic, friendships, family, whatever type of relationship, is that you are coming to this person not to deal with the problem and point it out like, hey, it's me against you, but it's me, you versus the problem. You're coming together, you want to, strengthen this relationship, you want to repair this relationship and move forward so that you can continue to have the relationship in the first place. And so growth requires vulnerability. And I will say it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. From the moment that I had to step into my first addiction group, to stepping out, to meeting somebody new here in Austin, to going to my first Bible study, whatever it is, it's terrifying. It is. But it's the bravest thing, like I said, to be able to ask for help, the bravest thing to be able to actually make the first step to actually have a relationship. Like, if you want to have a community, want to have new friends, want to be able to have a relationship with your family, you have to take the first step. You have to. I think that the fact that we all wait for somebody else to do it is the reason why nothing ever happens, because we're waiting on somebody else to do something that we want, and they have no idea that we want it. We have it in our mind, and we haven't even communicated that that's what we want. So if you want something, you have to go out and do it. That's something the Lord has put on my heart for myself. I had this amazing men's group back in Houston, like I said, and I moved here to Austin. I was like, God, I want to have that same thing. And he was like, you have to step out and do it yourself. If you want that community, you want that men's group, you want fellowship and brotherhood and relationships, you have to take the step. You have to be the one that's being vulnerable. You have to create that safe space, that environment that you're wanting, and invite other people into it. And so that leads into the last part. The third one that I moved, it's obedience comes before understanding. A lot of the things that I did this year that God has called me to do, I had zero idea. And this even started with me moving here to Austin. It wasn't the fact that like God called me here to Austin. I was leaving an old life over there in Houston to move over here to Austin. And I had some family, some friends, some people that I knew here. And I gave myself this reason of like, okay, if I get an apartment, I have a year, then I'm going to try it out for a year, be a trial run. And I had no idea what my plan was here in Austin. I love the city. I love the culture here of people really working on building things, whether it's creators, businesses, how the young people are working on building their lives. And so I wanted to jump out into that world. But I really had no idea, no plan in the sense of what God wanted me to do here. And so I came here. I was able to transfer apartments over here, and I just jumped straight in. I went and tried to find a new church right away, jumped into a new community, and I was just intentional on every move that I made, whether it's going to do new events, whether it's going and getting coffee with somebody, whether it's joining a Bible study. And I was very intentional with it in the sense of just being quick to my obedience. When God told me, hey, stay here, or don't go here, or talk to this person, I was just very quick with it before I even understood the reason why he wanted to. And a lot of the times I didn't get the understanding of why I was or doing the things that I was doing, or talking to people I was talking to, whether it was days, months, 6 months. Some of the stuff I'm learning as I recap this year right now. And there's a lot of the times where you have to just step out in obedience before you ever try to understand it. I heard somebody say something that the obedience, this is where you actually have to have faith, because if we think obedience of us stepping out after we understand it, then it's still going to be just disobedience, because we are waiting on trying to understand things rather than God, listening to God when he tells us to go do something and just doing it. You see, there's a lot of things that God wants us to do in our life, and we already know what he wants us to do, yet we are being hesitant because we are waiting on an understanding from him, and he's not going to give us that understanding right away. He wants us to just be obedient, have faith in what he wants us to do, and go do it. And after we do it, then we will gain understanding. And so a lot of the things that I worked on this year, and all the things that I have now at the end of 2025 going to 2026, all the seeds that I planted, was because of my obedience of just taking the first step without even worrying about understanding it. That's one of the mindsets that I made a shift about, is that when God asked me to do it, I'm not going to ask the question why. I'm not going to ask the question of trying to understand it. I'm just going to do it. and then let it unravel of the understanding as I go. Because a lot of the times for myself personally, like I said, me trying to understand it just hesitated and caused too much friction to where doubt and confusion and disobedience could step in. Let's see. So faith, I have it written down, is faith isn't waiting until it makes sense. It's taking the step anyways and trusting God with the outcome. A lot of times we try to figure out the outcome and we want to manipulate and control the outcome. This is something I struggle with and something I'm getting better at. And one of the things that I learned, when you read the Bible, they talk a lot about farmers and sowing seeds. And the thing is that what you can control is yourself and how you react to this life. And when it comes to being a farmer, when it comes to action and outcomes, the only thing you can control is your action. You can't control the outcome. The outcome just happens. However, when you plant a seed, and the way that the processes and systems that work in this world that the God has created is that when you plant a seed, what you plant is going to grow. And whether that's good or bad things. And so you have to be very mindful that that principle, that system works regardless of what you sow. And so whatever you plant into your life, whether you speak into your life, will grow. And you have to be mindful of it. But that's what you can control, is the actions and the steps that you take. You have to just stop trying to control the outcome. And so when God calls me to do something, the thing that I can control is me being obedient to what he calls me to do, my action to his word, and not think about the outcome, not think about what things are going to, what are the things that I'm going to reap in my life, if it's going to be impactful or beneficial for me, or try to see how I can manipulate it to help other people. It's not. The only thing when God tells me to do something, it's just focus on being obedient into actually doing what he tells me to do. And then the outcome will come. And so to wrap everything up, I want to share a challenge for everybody. If you already have a community, or if you're looking for a community in 2026, take the step to be vulnerable and show up to different events. Look up the different things, whether that's hobbies or church groups that you wanted to get into, and just go. You're never going to figure out whether you actually like it or not unless you try it out at least once. And when it comes to different groups, give it a few times. This is how you practice discernment, is that you go and you kind of gauge whether it actually is what you're wanting to be a part of, or if it feels right to be a part of, and you ask God, is this where you want me to be? And you will get an answer of whether this is where you need to be at, or you need to continue to move forward and find a different group. But it's this practice of showing up to different events or meeting with new people to really realize, this is my group, this is my people, this is my support system. This is not where I need to be. This is not my group. This is not my people. And I tell people it's just as important to find what is for you and what is not for you. So you have to find both sides. And I will be transparent, okay, and be honest with you. When you are vulnerable, the scary part is that, our fear of being rejected is going to happen. There's going to be times where people reject your story, reject your vulnerability, reject wanting you to be part of the group or things like that. And that comes with being vulnerable. It opens up the opportunity for people to actually truly love you as well as to hate you. That just comes part of being vulnerable. Again, you can't control how other people react to your story. That's why you have to be solid in who you are in your identity in Christ before even going out, so you're not people pleasing and putting on a performance to get people to like you, because that's not the whole goal. If you want to have genuine, real relationships in a community, it starts with you understanding who you are, so you can be vulnerable to other people and allow them to have a safe place to be vulnerable and solid in who they are, and you guys come together as individual people having this relationship. And so take the first step, be vulnerable. Go find a community, like just in 2026, just try things. That's the whole goal. It's just trying things, and you'll find what you want to be a part of and what you don't, and you find the relationships. And as scary as it may be, you might find the best relationships that you ever needed in your life, whether it's friends, romantic relationships, even your family relationships getting stronger, your entire community. It starts with you just taking the first step. Instead of asking yourself, what if all the things that go wrong, think about all the things that can go right. That's all it is. And so with that being said, that's 3 things in 2025 has taught me about community and obedience. Looking forward to the next episode. I'm not sure exactly when that's dropping. I'm going to work on trying to get at least a video out every single week moving forward here in 2026. And you know, I've said that before, really locking it down, putting them more on YouTube. I'm going to start putting even the audio on Apple, Spotify, and things that get that up and running. You may see these on TikTok, Instagram, and things like that. I'll have all my handles down below. If you can, subscribe, like, share. You know, this is how we're going to get this pushed out to more people. But I appreciate everybody who supported. I appreciate everybody who even mentioned that they wanted me to start this in the first place. It took me a second to even just get this back up and running, but I appreciate it. Much love. I do it for you guys, not even just for myself. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Let's start 2026 off to a great start. Build up your dreams. Your dreams aren't going to be built unless you build it. Okay? We're building these dreams together. We do this together. And if anything, I'm here for you. I see you. I'm supporting you from afar. Let's do this.